Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Reimer.
Hi, everybody. Just pointing
Oh,
I just looked like I was pointing up my nose. Welcome to Found Footage Friday.
just get really close to the camera.
I'm not that. I'm not. Not today.
So excited about this one.
Yes, it's a little bit lighter than our last episode, which was Skinamarink, by the way. If you didn't see it, you should. You should go see what we thought about that.
Yes.
Yeah. This week we're talking about. Did we say it already? Did I miss that?
No, we didn't. I'm ready to point. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm
All
ready
right.
to point.
We are going to point right here because right here in the middle of the screen is where the movie picture comes up. Okay, so we're talking about Grave Encounters. I'm like petting it, propping it up.
Yes. Yeah, so this is one we have mentioned, but not fully covered.
No. I would classify this as classic found footage.
Yes.
I mean, it's 2011, but so it's not like ancient or anything. It's not the oldest found footage film, but
No.
it's like when I think of found footage, I mean, not counting Blair Witch Project, but when I think of found footage and like I want to sit down and I want to watch a found footage horror movie, this is sort of like the style of movie I'm thinking of. Even though there's so many, we just talked about Skinamarink last week.
Yeah.
We talked about like people horror, as people found footage as we've classified it. This is like you walk into a haunted house, found footage.
Yeah, this
Exactly
checks
what
a
you're
lot
thinking.
of boxes for your specific
My
wants
interest.
and needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
For found footage in general, and mine too. But I just know that this checks all the things that like you specifically are looking for when you go into a found footage film.
Yes.
Yeah. So it came out in 2011, which that was a long time ago. And its current scores are 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, a 92% on the Google, a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the viewers. And then I think this one's come up before. Just Watch. They gave it a 60. It has a 68% on whatever that is.
Yeah, this one's like pretty easy to find. I mean, this one's all over the place.
It's definitely
You go on Shudder and it's like one of the first recommendations you get. It's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's streaming on Plex, Pluto, Tubi, Redbox, Vudu, Crackle, Amazon, Freevee.
And Shudder.
And Shudder. And Shudder's not listed on here, but it's a scrolling thing, so it's a long list. The short synopsis, this is quick. The crew of ghost hunting TV show hole up in an abandoned psychiatric hospital hoping to catch some spooks on camera, a scenario that can only ever end badly. And it does.
And it does. It always does.
Right?
Found footage. Horror movie.
That's right.
It's really the perfect setup.
Agreed.
It's done in many found footage horror films where you have a group of people who want to, either they have a show or they're doing some sort of documentary and they go to some haunted place not believing that what they're going to find will actually be scary in any way, and they're always proven wrong. So it's a classic plot line in found footage horror films.
It really is. And it's got the legitimately found element.
It is found. And it's like the Ghost Hunter, it's playing off of that, like the Ghost Hunter like television show.
100% this is Ghost Adventures. Like they even have the main character Lance is totally Zach Bagans from Ghost
Adventures.
So let's do our ratings. I guess you went first last time.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. So this is the found footage movie that got me back into found footage after Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
because I saw this, I don't know how long it had been out by the time I saw it, but this is very B horror as well. And so this really encouraged me to look for more found footage outside of stuff in theaters, because this is very like, so when I first saw this, it like scared me. Like I was legitimately scared after I watched it for the first time, but it's one that's always stuck with me. I've probably seen it 200 times by now. So this is the perfect setup for me too. This is a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow. Yeah, this is a high rating for me as well.
Yeah.
I feel like when we did our top 5, I feel like this was in my top 5, but I honestly can't even remember at this point. My top 5
came up. I feel like I remember
films.
Yeah.
So I will rate this an 8.5. An 8.5.
I thought you were going to let us have the same one.
8.5.
Sticking with it.
It's great. It's great.
It is.
That's a really, especially lately, that's a really good rating from me. So yeah, it's got everything I want. It's like, it's not complicated.
Really not.
Sometimes I don't. There's specific things I'm looking for, and I just want that when I'm watching a movie. It's scary. I'm looking for that paranormal element, which isn't always in found footage, but I prefer it. Obviously, I want to be scared. That's typically what's going to scare me. It's you got the night vision all over the place in this movie.
Super slow build all the way until it just goes like crazy. The last it
goes nuts. You have a bunch of different characters, which means a bunch of characters that can get offed throughout the movie, different places.
You've
got like as I said earlier, like the disbelievers, the non-believers, who are proven wrong. I just think this movie has everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I literally like copy and paste that. So I feel the same way. I think one of the things that I will say, because it is based off of the whole like Ghost Adventures thing.
Yeah.
I think that I guess we'll call it like a shift. The shift from cheesy to oh no, our lives are in danger felt so realistic and so organic, because they do start out cheesy. They do, but it's intentional, and it's but
it's more unsettling when things go bad because it was cheesy at the beginning.
Exactly, because then it feels more real. Because they're on however many episodes. I should know this because I've seen it so many times, because they reference the episode number multiple times. But they whatever episode it is, they talk about the fact that they have to fake stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
and so they're just whatever. And so that nonchalant, when they change, we too change. We're like, oh, okay, this is real now. So I think, I think this is a great film. I think that for all of its little, I think there are plenty of things you could probably nitpick. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. For a found footage B film, I feel like this is just really something.
Yeah, and it's not trying to be something it's not. I think this is good. If someone who is sort of an introductory, what's found footage, what's a good place to start, I think this is a good one. This is, it's actually found footage, which is, I feel like, becoming more and more rare in the found footage movies that I want the footage to be found by somebody. And that's what this is. You explain that it's found.
In the beginning.
This is a movie you've said before, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of Monster Project or whatever. Is this a movie that you said you put on, falling asleep to? This is a comfort movie?
Yeah, that's Grave Encounters, yes.
Grave Encounters.
I mean, Monster Project is one too, but I typically won't fall asleep. I'll stay up and watch the whole thing. But Grave Encounters is definitely a comfort horror for me. I had a physical copy of it at one point, but I don't know where it went. Like I didn't have it anymore. So like when I realized I went to watch it and I didn't have it, I bought a digital version. So now I can just go to my Amazon and watch it whenever I want to. So it's
it's not like that for me, but it just I guess that's stuck in my brain. Like, and I'm definitely someone who has horror comfort movies. So
I think all of us do, right?
I think it's something.
Is yours Hereditary?
No.
Sorry.
Definitely not.
It's on my brain because you mentioned it in the
the original like Halloween. You know what I mean? The original few Halloween movies. But yeah, it's I can see why though. Because I feel like the pacing of it. I don't know. Like I can see why that would be a comfort sort of film. Now there's a second movie which I've seen. Not as good. Not as good. I can't remember my feelings on it. It must not stand out to me. Is it similar?
It takes it takes like 45 minutes to even get back to the hospital. It's a bunch of frat boy kind of crap, party scenes and background stuff that doesn't matter. And then we finally get into it and you're like, yeah. But then some of the extended ideas I thought were good, but I would have liked for the whole movie to have taken place in the hospital. I didn't need almost an hour of my time wasted on teen angst storylines or whatever. I don't care about that, but otherwise, I mean, it was
because the hospital is in its own right just very scary, and I don't have to. They just have to like walk around and look at it, and like, and obviously they have stories and there's lore about the hospital, which is another positive about this movie. It's great backstory that they get into. But yeah, just being in that space, longer probably would have made for a better second movie. There's not a third, right?
No, it's just the two. Well, and I will say that one cool thing about the sequel, before we move on from it, is that it does start out discussing the craze that was around Grave Encounters, because this is another film that kind of came out of nowhere, and then it was like immediate cult following, and a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people were hyped. A lot of people were posting videos about how great it was and how everybody needed to watch it. And it does kind of like capitalize on that. Like it brings in all of that. It shows all these clips of people talking about it, and it leads into this guy saying he's always been a big fan. He wants to go to the hospital, blah, 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 blah. Right. But I did think that was kind of neat to kind of bring in the fandom of what that looks like for this film, because this is one I'm sure there are people that don't like it. I'm sure. But I don't know that I've heard those voices very loudly, because I feel like everyone collectively appreciates this movie. So
yeah, I don't think this is like a divisive movie like the last one we talked about, or like a lot of the films.
A lot of them, No.
But yeah, no, like it does have like this cult sort of like there's a few movies we watched that are and maybe they're all sort of in that category. They're like part of a series, right? Of films. And so like I would say that about this. I would say that about the Hell House LLC movies. Which again, similarly, those movies take place in the same place in multiple films. And then oh gosh, what's that other one that we did? There's like 7 of them now. I never remember the name of it.
Oh my God, I can see the cover with the old lady on the front.
Yeah. That's our like
Blackwell Ghost.
The Blackwell Ghost. That movie. That movie has like a huge following. Or those movies, that series has a huge following. Bad Ben.
I was just gonna say Bad Ben.
Bad Ben, but definitely like there are people who follow those movies, and definitely probably Grave Encounters of all of those is, I would say, the best known of those films. It's funny every time I search for the best found footage films.
It's on there.
Found footage movies you should watch. This one's always on there. So it's definitely not, even though it's a B like horror movie, it's certainly not obscure. It's not hard to find. Like I feel like a lot of the movies we watch are pretty obscure. That's just the nature of found footage, but this is not necessarily in that category. It's funny, like this to me seems like a found footage movie that would be on the big screen.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it was. I don't know.
I don't think it had a theatrical release.
Yeah. Unlike some others that do get theatrical releases.
I'm not sure I don't know how that works. Well, and then sometimes I will say I've noticed, like, especially more like in the last few years, we're getting limited releases for horror stuff.
That's different. Yeah.
So they'll show, like, so for example, like Skinamarink was only in theaters for like a month, not even a month before it was on Shudder.
Yeah.
So there's some things that are working like that. But yeah, this didn't get a theatrical release. This was straight to 2011, whatever was out around in 2011.
Not VHS.
Whatever it was.
DVD.
Yeah. So I guess you want to talk about spoilers. We talk more in detail about some of the.
Yeah. Well, I we've already sort of spoiled. I mean, what else is there? What else is there to say? Like
we
you can go into
like specific plot points.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
We have a structure. We're professionals.
I know we sort of skipped past it.
That's what happens. That happens every time we get excited about talking about one. Like almost every time, you're like, have we said the name of the movie yet?
We did our ratings, yeah.
How long have we been talking about this movie? We talked about everything but the name. No, I mean, I think okay. So one of the things, like, I think I really liked was the shifting of the building. So it talks about, like, you know, everything changes. Like, it's not the same building they went into. It's like a completely different one. But I mean, I think one of the things, like, the first major thing that happens is the woman in the bathroom. Is it a bath? No. What is it? Patient room? Whatever room it is. Where we just see her from behind.
Yes.
That's like the first big thing. There's little things, but that's like the first big thing. And when that woman turns around and her face gets blacked out, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Yep.
Like, that was so scary.
Yes. Yeah. That was terrifying. I just so I guess the movie starts off, they actually do they get locked in? Does the guy actually lock them in?
It's literally Ghost Adventures.
Which is, I mean, that's the perfect setup. I've read there are books like that. That'll get me every time. Like, we're gonna spend a night in this haunted location. I mean, there's variations on that. We always get the name wrong, Followed or whatever it was, where they had to sleep in a haunted hotel for a night, just stay one night in the hotel. I mean, that setup is perfect and gets me every time. So that's this movie.
Yeah. Well, and this was added because there is, like, you can't, I mean, who's going to get you out? Like, you got to stay.
The
whole night. And then, you know, when they realize that, like, time has stopped, essentially, like, their time is moving forward, but it's still nighttime. Stuff like that gets me too. Like, which we talked about when we talked about when we did the Blair Witch episode, because they play with that a lot in the 2000 and whatever one, 2015, whatever it was. And so, like, that's such a unique sense of helplessness.
Oh yeah. They're just like trapped in this never ending hell or maze or whatever it is.
All their food went rotten in the course of like an hour or something like that. And they're losing each other. Like, our numbers are dwindling. Like, there's no way out. It's dark. You can't, like, everything about this setup is so unsettling. And it's just down to, like, some of the scenes are like, you know, like when we see the window open, like, but like, it seems like such a simple thing to say, oh yeah, like the window opened, but it worked. Like, it just worked. That was unsettling. When the girl's hair goes up, I was like, nope. Didn't care for that at all.
And then there's the guy who's like the expert. Is he supposed to be a psychic? I forget.
No, he's an actor. He's one of the ones that's, because that's their other big thing. They pay people to lie.
Right.
And which is one of the reasons that Gonjiam reminds me so much of this, is because there's elements of that in that one too. But that one came out in 2018, I think. But anyway, no, he's full of it. Like he's just an actor, because he's like, well, I got to get out. I have an audition for this role and whatever.
That's
he's like trying to
That's
leave.
That's right.
And it's like, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. And so
I haven't seen it as many times as you, so that's why I can't necessarily go plot.
That's okay. No, it's fine. This is like, well, we've already said this is like comfort horror for me, so I watch this all the time. But yeah, like, and then there's, and you know what's crazy is like, I feel like the scenes that are like the scary scenes that aren't done as well still work because of everything else around it.
Yes. Yeah.
So like the part when the psychic guy is like drugged by the book bag in that hallway, like if that scene happened in most other movies, it wouldn't have been as like, oh my God. But because of everything building up around it, the isolation, the fear, how long they've been there, all of that, like that part was like, when we're watching him get drugged, I was like, oh my God, like I was so uncomfortable watching that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is the setup that makes the stuff that happens later on work. It's just really well done. Again, the framework is something I've seen many times, or we've seen many times and talked about, but doesn't always work. They take a pretty simple concept and do it probably the best, one of the best you've seen. This and like Gonjiam, I would say, are the two that do this. This particular found footage movie, the best.
Yeah, and this doesn't have a happy ending, which I love.
Oh no. Well, I mean, most found footage movies don't have a happy ending.
Yeah, but
the footage is found. So
yeah, but when we see like people like our journeys to people's death in found footage, sometimes is like very like, it's not as I don't want to say quick, because I don't mean in a time sense, but I feel like we go through so much with them, especially Lance's character.
Yeah.
That when he gets to the end and he's been lobotomized, you're just like it's like you forget that they don't end happy for just like a moment. There's like a little sense of hope. Like maybe he'll be the one, right? I don't know. Like there's just something more like devastating about this unhappy ending that I just appreciated. Like this just felt like
interesting.
Because he's like, I'm better now, like, or whatever it is that he says at the end.
Do you think this is more devastating than, I don't know, like the ending of Blair Witch, like, or with just, I don't know. I feel like,
well, I think
in that basement, like wherever they're supposed to be, in that house, I don't know. That to me is
this is like, I think what I think for me, like this is what I get out of it. So with the Blair Witch, we have no answers. We don't know anything. All we know are a bunch of mixed match stories about a supposed situation, but we don't really get any clarity on what really, really happened or what happens after the fact or whatever. When we're watching Grave Encounters, we get a story, we get information, and we know exactly what happens. And I think that sometimes we go into things with this sense of like, if you have the knowledge, if you know how something is going or why something is going on or how something is going to go, you feel comforted by the knowing, because the unknown is what makes us so uncomfortable. So if you're going into the end of a film and you've got all these things, these pieces that you have these whatever, the story, the lore, whatever it is, and that didn't make it enough to save you, that's like worse than not knowing.
Oh yeah. I get that.
We know everything we're supposed to know. There's not a lot of questions for me personally.
I love it. And that's one of the things I love about this movie, where I find I have struggled with some of our more recent episodes. If you've been watching, I am not a fan of having to completely analyze a movie and figure out what it was I just saw. I like someone to spell it out for me. And this movie does. It spells it out.
It's not very black and white.
there's no mystery at the end. You know what happened and why it happened. And sometimes that's what or most of the time, that's what I'm really looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's scarier because I think it's easy to be like, oh, well, we don't know. And not knowing is scary. But we do know. We knew everything we're supposed to know. We got all these answers. It's like you said, very black and white. And it's still ended badly.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I don't think you need to make people think at the end of the movie to scare them. I think that's...
No, I agree. I think sometimes giving information, and that's like, there's just something hopeful about knowing stuff, because a lot of horror movies, found footage or not, are about trying to figure out the story. We're trying to figure out, well, if we dig up the witch's bones and we bring them to this house at 2:00 on a Saturday, problem solved. Like we're trying to solve these mysteries to save ourselves and the people involved in the story. And so we get all of that with this, and then it's still like not a happy ending.
You just made found footage sound so much deeper. No, you did.
Is that good?
No, that's great.
Thanks. I'll take the gold star.
Yeah. Gold star.
But yeah, I just think it's like, that's the thing that, I mean, to your point, like found footage always ends badly. But when we have the answers, to me, that's just more scary. I don't know.
Yeah,
it just is.
I agree.
Yeah.
So like, if you're really a found footage person, you're a fan of the genre, and you haven't watched Grave Encounters yet, I mean, you're missing one. You're missing one that you really should get out and watch, I think. And it's really easy to find, so you don't have an excuse either.
Yeah, that's your homework, or we'll have to revoke your found footage fan card.
I mean, yeah. That's like saying I watched found footage and I haven't seen the Blair Witch Project. I mean, it's not quite there, but we're getting close. So
it's really close.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I think of there are only a few. Like when I think of found footage, there's only a few movies I think that I always think of: Blair Witch, Grave Encounters, a few others. So
yeah, no, I agree. I feel the same. And we've watched a bunch.
We have, and we're gonna watch a bunch more. So
yeah, we don't know what next though.
No,
right? No,
please give us ideas for new found footage. Please, good found footage movies. Thank you. We want them.
Yes, we do.
And I'm sure there are plenty we don't know about. So
yeah, I'm sure there's a ton we don't know about.
Toss them our way. Your camera just shifted. I think we're like on a found footage.
It's my cat.
In a found footage movie.
He's like so normally he lays by the heat fan, the thing on the side of my laptop, but I guess he's like needing attention today. I don't know.
Interesting.
Anyway, he bumped it with his butt. See?
I see him, yeah.
Ooh.
Nice star.
Anyways. Yeah, no, I love this one. This was good. I'm glad we got to talk about that. I think it's good.
We have to do a classic every now and again.
Throw it in the mix. Yep. I'm with it. Cool. Well,
all right. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah. Grave Encounters. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Found Footage Friday. Have a good weekend, a great week coming up, and Tom and I will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.